And here we go, off and running on this latest edition. In fact, before I say the title, it's 11/11/29. So we're going to call this WPT in 25 because we've got a lot to cover. Jason, Joe, Tommy, hope everybody's doing well. Breeders' Cup, Breeders' Cup 41 in the books. We'll have a little bit of a recap. And in terms of right off the bat, and I had put out a poll on Twitter not long after the Classic, just saying, who would you vote for, Sierra Leone or Fierceness for champion 3-year-old male? I had some people responding with Torpedo Anna. It's like, no, she'll be a unanimous 3-year-old filly champion. But Joe, starting with you, I mean, thoughts on the Classic as far as Sierra getting up and getting that fast pace?
Yeah, I mean, like I've been betting against Sierra Leone all year, so it figures like it's finally a price, and he pops and wins. He's like 5-1 or 6-1, but like Fierceness was the best horse in that race. Like I don't think it's even debatable. Sierra Leone got a dream setup. You could argue he was third best even after Forever Young. He's obviously a nice horse, and he's going to be champion 3-year-old. The thing you can say that he had was more consistency than Fierceness. He showed up in every single race, even if he didn't win many of the big ones until Saturday. One thing I'll say that I think is really cool is that supposedly they're both going to be back as 4-year-olds. And that's something that we lament a lot in this game, that the horses are retired too soon as 3-year-olds. We don't have any good older male handicap division horses or rivalries. Hoping that they come back, they stay healthy, and then we have a little bit of a continued rivalry between them in 2025.
Yeah, could be a little bit of a throwback rivalry. I mean, again, if both horses stay healthy and those plans come to fruition, and they both are indeed in training at the start of 2025, it'd be great if they met each other maybe 3 or 4 times. You could have like a real old school traditional East Coast handicap battle. I mean, for you, Tom Murphy, I know you're probably, I mean, maybe next to Mike Rapoli, the biggest Fierceness fan that I know. Do you give him, would you still vote for him, champion 3-year-old? Because I will say there was a lot of support when I got back up to the West Point suite. Like, oh, I would still vote for Fierceness, where I think Sierra Leone is going to be a lock. I mean, who would you give champion 3-year-old to, Tommy?
Yeah, after that race, it's a tough call, but I got to stick my man Fierceness. I just think that he ran a huge race, and a lot of time the trip where he was up front, and the Derby obviously backed up pretty bad, but there he stayed up and was able to hold off all these other horses that were coming after him. And when that got by, was here alone, kind of in the middle of the track a little bit. I thought he'd break on him there, but didn't happen. But still, I think Fierceness was probably on his game is the best 3-year-old in country.
Oh, I think we lost Tommy. He's back. He's back. He made that controversial statement of probably Fierceness being the best 3-year-old in the country. I'd be like, dude, he's the best dirt horse on the planet. Forget about 3-year-old in the country. But no, it was a great classic. And Tommy, I appreciate you, sticking with the home team. I do think Sierra Leone is going to be champion 3-year-old, and I would vote for Sierra Leone as champion 3-year-old. It's the Breeders' Cup. It's the classic. That race does and is supposed to carry more weight than any other race throughout the season. And it's not a case of where like Fierceness had 5 other grade 1 wins. They each won a couple of grade 1s, and Sierra Leone happened to, get by him in deep stretch of the biggest race of the season. Other than that, I mean, Joe, in terms of Breeders' Cup 41, for me, thinking about it, with Bava not running well at all. I mean, that was a disappointment and something we chatted a little bit before I hit the record button. I don't think I have fully recovered, maybe from the surprise of her just not showing up with anything close to her A game in the Philly Mare Sprint. But for me, I'm going to go with the obvious as far as like the highlight. It was getting to see Torpedo Anna again and just watching her go about her business in the distaff.
Yeah, no, she was great as usual, and it's just what a campaign that she's had. I was talking about it with John on Rail Talk. Like this has got to be the best 3-year-old filly campaign since Rachel Alexandra. No, like
Yes.
she danced every dance. She went against the boys. She didn't beat the boys by Rachel Alexandra, but she was that close to doing so. And she's a rock star, and again, a horse who supposedly is coming back as a 4-year-old. And so I think that that's one of the big stories coming out of the Breeders' Cup is not just who ran well, who's going to win the championships, but who we might actually see again in 2025. She was awesome as you would expect, and she's diverse. She can run on the pace, off the pace. Yeah, Kenny McPeak has done a great job managing her, and she's a thrill to watch every single time.
I got vibes watching her, and I put it out on Twitter, like watching her win the Acorn on Belmont Eve in Saratoga. Like I really was, and that was the tweet. And it did get, oh, not that it matters, but it resonated, and I think people in general had the same sort of feeling that I had. I got the same kind of vibe and that passionate feeling, that visceral feeling watching her run in person to boot as I did, I think back to Sky Beauty and Inside Information and Heavenly Prize and all those fillies that are sacred to me. And I revere so much. So yeah, awesome effort out of her. Great that she's coming back as a 4 year old. And I mean, in terms of your highlight, Tommy, are you with the Torpedo Anna camp? Anything else catch your? I'm sure something else caught your eye. I mean, geez, it was 2 days of world class racing out there. But any other highlights you'd like to share from the BC?
Just I think going to Friday, the juvenile turf, Henri Matisse. I thought he ran huge, and a lot of the times, O'Brien brings his horses over. Some people will go the route of, he's not bringing his A game over, or his, A level horses. He brings more of the B, but even if that is his B, C level horses, and that's what it did to the rest of the world that showed up in the American contingent. Just tells you how good Aiden O'Brien is as a trainer, and then. Of course, on the flip side of that coin, you have we haven't brought him up yet. City of Troy, he ran in the Classic and just really didn't do much. And I could tell right out of the gate, he fell back a little bit, and you could see that dirt in his face. It just threw him completely off his game, and it was basically wraps for him at that point. But I was still glad they tried it, just gave it a shot. But I thought to myself a little after the Breeders' Cup, the Classic at least, if they ran him in the turf, he probably would have been 1-5 and could have probably won going away for fun if they would have chose that route. But just I thought O'Brien had a pretty, two sides of the coin Breeders' Cup in terms of those two at least.
Well,
How
I
about
mean,
Lake
geez.
Victoria too? Lake
Oh, I
Victoria
was
was
going to
Yeah,
say
like
flying.
Victoria, the Billy Hughes.
she might have been from a visual, the old visual eye test. I probably put her number one in horses where like I kind of had to literally pick my jaw up off the floor. The ride she got from Ryan Moore was perfection. At dude, I mean that turn of foot that she had, she is a superstar. She was definitely one of the highlights too, without question.
Yeah, and if you watch the replay, like I was looking at the overhead view when she got squeezed going to the first turn, she almost hit the rail and recovered super quickly. And like you mentioned, Ryan Moore did a great job as always getting her out into the clear. And yeah, she once she was loose in the stretch, like that race was over.
Yeah, super impressive. And let's give Rebels Romance a little bit of love. I will always have a soft spot for him. 2 years ago, we go back to the Flightline Breeders' Cup, and I'm not a pick six player, but I opted with Flightline in the mix, and I thought I had some solid opinions earlier in the day. I was like, oh, you know what? I'm gonna put a pick six ticket in, and it was a few $100s. It wasn't anything insane. Single Flightline in the Classic and Rebels Romance in the 22 BC Turf was the last horse I threw on, and I didn't really like him, but it was the Applebee's factor. It was Charlie Appleby, and he had dominated that year. And I said, you know what? Let me include that horse. And sure enough, he won and hit the pick six that day with Flightline bringing it home in the Classic. But for him, Tommy, to not only have won a Breeders' Cup year 24 months ago, kind of had a ho hum season, or I should say campaign last year in 23, but to see him have this surge and this renaissance again, I mean, dude, he is like a legendary, one of those legendary Group One, Grade One turf horses. Pretty awesome to get to watch him compete.
Yeah, he's a really neat horse. And like you said, 23 was a little bit down for him, and then 24, he's just been globetrotting, winning Group One, Grade Ones, wherever he lands on whatever shore, whatever continent, it doesn't matter. I thought that I don't want to say shoe in is the right word, but I thought he was going to run huge in the turf, and he did. He's just a really neat horse, and I think Applebee's done a great job with him. And for as a fan, I hope that he comes back again next year because I'd like to see him keep running, maybe go for not technically a three-peat, but three Breeders' Cup turf titles.
Definitely, yeah. Go Goldie Kova vibes if he can make it back to Del Mar next year. Joe, wrapping up 2-year-old races on Friday as far as like the traditional BC dirt races, Juvie fillies, and of course the juvenile. You have to pick one, immersive or Citizen Bull for the long haul. You can have one of them. Thinking about long game next May and beyond, which one do you want?
I'm going to take immersive just because I think that was such a funky race in the juvenile, like the way the pace unfolded. Like Citizen Bowl got, I mean, we were talking to Michelle Yu about this on the other podcast. Like she was like, Bob Effort's horses work faster than that. Than he was able to run on the front end, those fractions, because he was just crawling through the first half mile, three-quarters of a mile. And it was just a weird race where none of the top contenders really showed up. He's like East Avenue go to his face at the start, basically eliminated him. The other two major contenders didn't lift a foot. Immersive, I thought, it was a fairer trip, fairer run race, and she dominated that field in the stretch. So I think relative to the other horses in their class, I'm going to go with the filly.
Yeah, I was really surprised. And I think I would agree with you as far as, again, big picture. They'll both be crowned, of course, Eclipse champions at the end of January. But going back to the juvenile, even with the dawdling pace, like the fact that, all right, and I didn't really like East Avenue. I was little reticent to take horses that had wired at Keeneland because speed, at least the races I watched at Keeneland, it seemed like no one could gain an inch on that track. But I thought Ferocious was going to run Giant and Chancer McPatrick, and they were both terrible.
Yeah, Jonathan's way too didn't lift a
Him
foot.
also, yes, he was
Yeah,
terrible too.
Yeah,
yeah, bizarre.
Yeah, well, we'll see. We'll see.
it's a very
We've
odd
got
race.
yeah, it was an odd race, and I think generally, without having really polled or haven't really spoken to anybody about this, I think not that there's an asterisk next to this Breeders' Cup, but I think, again, looking at the Derby and just big picture, who's going to be around next year? Who do you want in the classic 3-year-old races? I don't know. I don't know if Citizen Bull, with all due respect, is the horse that is going to be almost like a unanimous, like, I want that 2-year-old like we've had in some of the other years. Even thinking back to Fierceness a year ago, how crazy fast and well he ran in the juvenile. So
I mean, that's just,
let's
that's just the point I wanted to make about the Eclipse Awards. Like, there's no Eclipse Awards I put less stock in than the 2-year-old awards because you just have to win one race. Like every other award, you have to have a full campaign full of grade one wins and placings. The 2-year-olds, like, nobody knew who Citizen Bull was before Saturday, and now he's going to be a champion. Like, I get it.
Mhm.
Like, they only run a couple of months, but it's always rubbed me the wrong way that those Eclipse Awards are put on the same level as of the horses who had to run all year to earn them.
Yeah, no, it's the Breeders' Cup, man. I mean, that's just the reality. It's racing Super Bowl. It's the championship event, and you win the Breeders' Cup. There's a very good likelihood or probability you're going to be champion in your division. Which, again, it hurts. And I like Sierra Leone. I appreciate his consistency, but the fact that you compare his trip to Fiercenesses, and Fierceness will get nothing now, even though he ran the best race and I think is the better horse. Let's move on, guys. It's a crazy weekend. I mean, we've got action starting on Thursday, and I don't want to slight anybody. We've got On My Honor and one of my favorite 2-year-olds from the spring in Tavern Time running Thursday, and then we fast forward. Yeah, On My Honor and Tavern Time. Tommy, you gonna be at the Twin Spires for both of those? I hope.
I will. They're a little stretched out. We're in the lifter in the last of the day,
Another worse
but
than
I'll
the
make
first and
sure
the
I'll be there
ninth.
for both. And
Have a pretzel for me.
well,
Have
hopefully
have
win
a
both, make
Take
it
a
pretzel.
worth it.
nap somewhere in the middle of the day.
Yeah, and then you can have a pretzel and maybe an ice cream in my honor.
There
And
you
good luck
go.
to the both of them. On my honor, we'll see how he does. 2 lifetime is the right condition for 80 Gs. We'll see how he does. He's got Louis, and I love that Jose's back aboard Tavern Time and expecting him to take a nice step forward. Oh, let's also, by the way, as we put a ribbon around Breeders' Cup 41. Didn't happen with Vava, but that said, beyond happy and thrilled for Cherie getting her first BC win with more than looks in the mile. And I think, guys, and you both can chime in here. I'll start with you, Joe. I mean, clearly no, she's not a Johnny come lately, and this is not going to be like where are they now? One hit wonders. I mean, her career is just trending with each passing season, trending the right way.
Yeah, no, and that horse is a really really good looking horse who I thought he was like 20 to 1 morning line. I was like, no way he's gonna be 20 to 1. He ended up at like 6 to 1 or so, and that was a powerful, powerful stretch kick. Really, really nice horse going a mile, even maybe up to a mile and an eighth. So it was good to see him kind of turn the tables on Carl Spackler, who had beaten him a couple of times previously. And he obviously got that Cherie Chad little rivalry that's building here. So yeah, even though it was disappointing for us personally, with Vava not running well, we were happy for Cherie to see her, get that first of many Breeders' Cup wins to come.
Definitely. Bad morning lines too. I hate saying it. The morning line for Breeders' Cup was pretty shaky
Oh,
out there. Oh, dude. Even and I didn't love
Hmm.
him, but even Sierra Leone, like at 12 to 1, it was like, dude, horse got a 109 buyer in the Travers. There's a ton of speed in the race. It's a mile and a quarter. Like on what planet would that horse have been over 8 to 1? But Tommy, I mean, you spend a lot of time at, Cherie's between Keeneland and Churchill. Her career has already started to take off, and it's just going to continue that way, right?
Yeah, it's just at some point you think it's gonna stop, but just going to the stratosphere. And I think Joe touched on it, the kick that the horse showed coming down the lane and then going by. What I thought most impressed me there was Morton Looks going by the Appleby horse, and Appleby was saying, this might be the best horse he's ever trained. Morton Looks to basically run by him like they weren't even moving was just that was the race that made my jaw hit the floor because I was wondering if he was going to finally turn the tables on Carl Spackley, who I loved in that race, and he did, and it was very impressive. Very happy for Cherie and her team, and hopefully, like, again, as you guys said, first of many.
There was a lot of the best horse I've ever trained going on too. And again, very sporting with City of Troy. I'm glad they rolled the dice and took a shot. I feel the same about Next with them trying him in the Classic. I'm glad Next was in a Breeders' Cup race, whether it was on the grass or on the dirt. But I was thinking even before the Classic, I was like, you know what, Aiden, give me. And again, not disagreeing with Aiden O'Brien per se. I mean, the guy like bow down to him as far as like legendary all time trainer. But I'll take Giants Causeway over City of Troy any day of the week, and I will take Don't Look Back at All over just about any other PA bred on the planet. That includes you, Smarty Jones. We've got her ready to rumble, guys, and our stakes action kicks off Friday, Joe, in your neck of the woods at the Big A. Not a cakewalk of a spot. I like the name of the race too, Autumn Days, considering it'll be second week in November. But looking forward to her just putting a pretty forgettable effort in a loaded Franklin Stakes behind her on Friday.
yeah, I mean, this isn't an easy field, but I think compared to the Franklin, when you have horses like Future of Now and Star of Mystery and Doors is for Deborah, like this is definitely a drop in class, and it's over a turf course that she's run really well on before. I'm a little interested in that South African horse for Grand Motion that you're over right now. She was absolutely flying late in that race at Keeneland. I think that South African form is a little bit underrated. But yeah, I mean, don't look back at all. I wish she drew a little bit further outside. She's toward the rail. She's got some speed right to her outside, but she's obviously one of those horses who doesn't need a particular kind of trip. She can sit third, fourth, fifth, even close. We saw her close to be a close second last summer at Saratoga. So I'm looking forward to getting her back. Like it just seemed like in that last race, nothing really went right. It wasn't like she had this nightmare trip, but she never really seemed to get comfortable. And I think, Tyler maybe didn't know her quite as well as Irad does. We get Irad back now. I'm really excited to get her back on a turf course we know she likes. And that was just such an aberration because she just, even if she doesn't win, she's always first, second, or third, six first, 6 seconds. And what is it, 15 starts? She's just awesome. The picture consistency. And I got a feeling she's going to bounce right back on Friday.
All right, well said. Good luck to Don't Look Back at All. And glad she was scratched out of the Keeneland November breeding stock sale as well. We'll have her. The plan is, assuming things go according to plan, we'll have her with us next year as a 5-year-old. We'll have Cagino with us as a 4-year-old next year. We'll look to get him back on track. It's funny, we've got Don't Look Back at All, kind of like the perfect segue into Cagino. Last out race in Kentucky. Nothing went according to plan. A complete anomaly. Shug, Tommy has had time to work with Cagino, freshen him up. We know he got sick over the summertime. I am expecting, and I was texting a few of his partners, I really am expecting something along the lines, if perhaps not a little bit better than that race that he had at Churchill back in June.
Yeah, I'm with you there. That I went back and actually watched the race a couple of days ago, just because I was so impressed watching it. I was there in person to see it, and kind of that was, I thought, his coming out party. And obviously the disappointment in Kentucky was no fun, and him getting sick was no fun. So I think we got him back going on the right track here. Love to get Flavian up again, just kind of reunites that team from that win at Churchill. And I still think he's the horse we all think he is. And there's no reason to get down on a horse just because they get sick or they put in a bad effort at Kentucky Downs, which you see a lot of really nice horses do because some of them just don't take that undulation. Some of them don't like going down that hill. They feel like I've heard a couple jockeys say this. They feel like the horse thinks they're gonna almost like fall over themselves, and so they kind of try to steady themselves and doing so slow down, and they just don't take to it. So a lot of the times, horses that run, especially the figures like that, you can just draw a line straight through that, knowing that just take that out of him. He was sick. And so I think this is a great spot for him to bounce back and for potentially a West Point, I guess, double, if you will, winning this race back-to-back years.
Yeah, we got a shot to win three stakes at Aqueduct over the span of about 24 hours this weekend, which is awesome. And I think, Joe, as far as, and Tommy gave like a perfect summation of just Cagino in general and the last out shenanigans, for lack of a better term, at Kentucky Downs. These horses, while they're not slouches, mainly looking at Royal Majesty and deterministic, I feel this is very much a field that Cagino belongs snugly as one of the top contenders.
Yeah, totally. I mean, deterministic and Kagina will probably be similar in price, close to favoritism. The only horse I'm a little bit interested in at price maybe is Main Beach for Chad. I thought he ran huge, huge, huge in that allowance race last time, closing into a slow pace. And West Hollywood came back to dominate the Saranac next time out. So I think he's a little bit sneaky, but I love the draw. There's no other speed except for us and the rail. And Bartlett, he could win. He's got 94, 93 figures. He's by Not This Time, so Not This Times can get grass all day. But assuming he's not going to be as good on turf as he is on dirt, we could be sitting right off of his hip, second, slowish fractions, get first run on the closers. I love, love, love the way we drew in this race.
Good. Let's get it home with Cagino. I would imagine Joe too, and you'll have company. You won't have to do it solo. Tom Bellhouse. Tommy's got his passport stamp coming down from the spa to South Ozone Park. I would imagine you guys are going to have a lot of support, man, between Coogee and Don't Look Back at All, like Friday and Saturday in terms of
Yeah,
partners.
Yeah, the more the merrier. Like we expect to have big crews for both of those horses. It's a big day when Tommy makes that trip down to Taconic to come visit me at Aqueduct. So that's how you know it's appointment viewing. So yeah, I can't wait. I think there's gonna be a lot of folks out there. Weather looks good, and yeah, let's get a couple of wins.
And let's bring it home with integration. He wraps up our three pronged attack in the Friday and Saturday stakes at the Big A. It's been a little bit of a frustrating year at times. And I say frustrating with a horse who's a stakes winner, got grade 1 placing, actually hit the board in a couple of different grade one stakes. And I mean, basically was a steady grade 1 performer. But the way integration started his career and looking at that Hill Prince in my eyes in particular, I thought there was a chance we might run the table this year, and be in the Breeders' Cup turf on Saturday. And just from the Pegasus on, it always felt like, I don't know. Not that we were up against it, but we could never really get into like a comfortable rhythm. That said, integrations run some big races on the year, and I am very much Tommy, much like a Gino. You're talking about a horse that just didn't fire anywhere close to his best. He is, you can put me on the record here. He is comfortably better than any of these horses that finished up in front of him at Kentucky Downs last time. Like, not even debatable.
Yeah, I'm with you again there. We know what this horse is all about. We know how nice of a horse he is. And you can see, looking at his form, specifically these triple digit buyers he's running, and even getting beat with the hundreds is, I think, tells you and gives you an inclination of what he's got in store. And like you said, I think we can draw a line through Kentucky Downs. He didn't really take to it a whole lot and just move on. And I think this is a good spot. This is kind of where he got hot last year, and so see if we can get him rolling into really good form going down in the winter. We can go have some fun with him down in Florida and win some big races with him. But I'm pretty high on integration. I have been. I think I've listened to a lot of you, Jason, because I know you love the horse,
Love
and
him.
I've grown to
Love
have
him.
an affinity for him as well. So I think we're in a good spot here. You can see there's some older horses that have been around for a while. Like Adamo is one that I know has been running for forever. Uh, so it's got limited liability in there as well with Frankie. So it's a good spot, and I think we should have the edge here in this race. I think.
Yeah, we're favored. I mean, Joe, your confidence level, because limited liability, it's a very, very good horse. I mean, he had some good battles with the Gray Wizard, who's solid earlier in the year. I mean, do we get the money at around maybe 7 to 5 or so in that range?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's an interesting point that Tommy makes about all the older horses in here. Like, he clearly is the one with the most upside. I think maybe Rebel Red on the outside has some upside, but he hasn't run as fast as Integration has. Masterpiece is 8 years old, Adamo's 6, Limited Liabilities 5, City Man is 7. Like, really admirable horses, but you know what they are by this point. And Integration, I think, still has that upside. It tells us how good he is that so far this year he's run a 100, a 98, a 100, a 100, and a 94 Byron. And we're like, oh, what a disappointing year.
I, I
And
know.
for
I know.
integration. But it's true, just because he hasn't been able to break through and have that one big victory. And obviously, this is a grade 3. It's not a grade 1, or a grade 2, rather. It's not a grade 1. But I don't know, between him and Kujino, and even Don't Look Back at All, like these are horses that would be really, really satisfying to get to the winner's circle. And especially for integration, just because we think the world of him, and the year hasn't gotten quite the way that we planned it to, even while he still runs solid.
Yeah, so let's cap it with the win, and then we'll have him back next year as a 5 year old, and we'll see what heights he can achieve next season with Shugs. So Kentucky action, we've got Thursday, of course, our 1-2 punch with On My Honor and Tavern Time, the lid lifter and the nightcap there, Tommy boy, for you. And then on Saturday, we have got Maui Strong, who don't love his post, but I'll tell you, working my way through the field, and you got some well connected, well pedigreed horses. And I'm sure we're not the only horse. I'm going into this race thinking we're going to take a nice forward move in terms of like overall improvement. So, expecting Maui Strong to take a step forward. But Tommy, I looked through this race and I was like, it's not a cakewalk. It's a full field. You need the right trip, but there was nobody in here like a horse even on the grass that got like a 78 buy or first out that I'm going, all right, that horse is going to be 6 to 5. I like this spot for our guy. And it seems like Dale's really bullish on like his last couple of works.
Yeah, Dale's been pretty high on him. I know, obviously, he's liked this horse for a long time, so it's always nice to see him work so well and Dale be so high. Like you said, I'm not a huge fan of that 12 post all the way on the outside, all by our lonesome, if you will. And then the fact that it's only a mile, I wish they at least, and I saw Churchill in their book, they've only ridden these 2-year-old maidens for a mile. So they're not stretching anything out to a 16th. So it's not the longest run up onto that turf course at Churchill, which can be a little tight sometimes depending on where the rail is going to be set. So this is a race that if we drew better, a little bit better, and maybe we're a little bit longer, I'd feel a lot better. But I still think this is a great spot for him to take a step forward. Really keep him in, just get him, find a way to work out a good trip with them here. It's going to be tough from way outside, and I keep harping on that. But I think especially just the turf course now getting used at Churchill after it's had so much time off. It's going to be pretty important to work out a good trip and make sure we can get ourselves in a good spot and take that step forward.
What about Battle of Normandy on Saturday? So Coogee, Integration, and Battle, and two of them, of course, are half brothers, which is pretty neat. Not an easy spot. I was texting with a few people yesterday. I said it'll be a big test for him in the River City, but he fits like a glove. Joe, I'd love to hear your thoughts as we look for 4 in a row with Battle of Normandy on Saturday.
Yeah, he's such a cool horse because like you look, he broke his maiden first time out August 2022, and then didn't win for almost 2 years, and now he's got 3 wins in a row, going for 4 in a row. It just shows you the twists and turns that a racing career can take you on. I think it's a wide open race. I think cash equity on the outside for Safi and Mike Smith. How about Mike Smith coming in to ride? Is yeah, I think that he's reasonably the horse to beat, but he's a deep closer. He's going to need some help up front. Thing I like about Battle of Normandy is he's shown a lot more tactical speed this year. I think that that's not an accident, that he's gotten better as he's shown more tactical speed. So hoping he'll be able to work out a good stalking trip. For Juan Machado riding him for the first time, so hopefully Show gives him some good instructions, because I think that that is one of his big weapons, is his ability to be placed kind of anywhere. And yeah, I can't wait. He's a horse that I think deserves another graded placing at least.
And who knows? I mean, with Emmanuel, Maker does phenomenal work claiming like back class older horses for good money. In this case, they bought him for a half a mil out of a horses of racing age sale, but don't know how he's going to run. I like this spot a lot for Battle of Normandy. And as we start to run out of time here, I appreciate that keeping me honest. We got Happy Am I. He gets a three other than Rita on Sunday, and then Rita Posit also on Sunday. He needs to run against easier, and he's in for 20. I expect him to run very well there for 20. And then Jace's Road next week. How's the have any of you guys looked at the Happy of my race yet? Because I have not, but I'm gonna do it right now.
Yeah, not yet. I'll look real quick. I
You
don't
know,
see.
she's so
Glanced at it, and
solid.
I think she's gonna be pretty tough. She's gonna be pretty tough in there.
Yeah. I mean, it's nice getting a chance to step out of stakes company. Although for a three other than a slightly bigger fee. I figured it would have been like a five horse field and
Right.
we were loose on the. I mean, how many three other than allowance horses are around? But no, good luck. Good luck to Happy and My. Dallas has done a very solid job with her. So I am going to get back on this, and that's a wrap, boys. We still got a little room left on the Oscar performance, the Not This Time, and that monster Calbred filly by Omaha Beach, who's going to be running out west. We'll unleash her next summer at Del Mar, and I think the countdown not only to a big week and weekend of racing that continues, but the December yearling showcase gang is not too far off in the future, and I know both of you guys are going to be there. That's always, Joe, such an awesome time.
Yeah, no, I can't wait. I went to the April one. This will be my first time at the December showcase. I know we got a big crew of people coming down. So yeah, I can't wait. We got like the cocktail hour on the roof of the Hilton downtown. And then the next day of the yearling showcase, we're gonna have a ball.
Definitely. And Tommy, we'll look for you in the winner's circle twice tomorrow afternoon. And if you do find, well, dude, you worked at Churchill. You can probably find yourself a little, little corner
I know
there. Yeah.
I got a couple spots. I got a couple
Okay.
spots in the back of my head. I might go see if I can find my way there.
Or go hang out with Dale all afternoon at the barn. All right.
There you go. Either there or the golf course. It's going to be hard to know which place is going to be
Oh,
a
golf course.
afternoon.
If he's got nothing running, the golf course. You get a nice lunch, and coincidentally, I had lunch with him and Tammy, or maybe it was the late lunch, early dinner at the golf course. Derby week back in, I think it was 2000, would have been 21. It would have been the Obezos year. We love that Dale, and let's get the money with Maui Strong on Saturday. So for Tommy, Joe, and Jason, thank you everybody for tuning in, and we'll catch you next week here on West Point in 25. See you, everybody.